पहले ज्वाइन किया था फर्स्ट पर्सन.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you all for joining this evening for the Nectar of Instruction classes. So we'll get started. It is time. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna everyone, welcome again to the next session of our course, Applying the Nectar of Instruction in Modern Life. So over this course, we have covered some of the verses where we explored how this powerful guidebook applies to our lives, managing our work and family, and the desire for deeper bhakti. So we've covered 3 verses already, and today we'll do verse number 4. Verse number 4, building love and trust, the heart of Vaishnava culture. Before we get into that, I want to step back a little bit and talk about this question. Why do people come to Krishna consciousness? Is it just a philosophy? Is it the colorful festivals? Is it the elaborate, impressive rituals? Is it the delicious treats and the prasadam? Of course, all these are important. And it may be the reason why someone is attracted to Krishna consciousness, but they're not why someone stays. The real reason that most people come and stay is this, is that everyone is searching for love, care, and encouragement. And in this age of confusion, division, and loneliness, the greatest hunger isn't for information. It's for connection. People want to be seen. People want to be valued. People want to be loved. And not for their performance or for their other traits, but for the soul, for themselves, for who they are. And the Krishna consciousness movement and Krishna consciousness system, when practiced properly, offers just that. Love. Love is ISKCON's flagship product. In any company, there's always a flagship product. That one thing that best defines the brand. For Apple, it's the iPhone. For Tesla, it's their electric car. For the Krishna consciousness movement, what's the flagship product? It's love expressed through devotional relationships. It is the priti lakshanam, the symptoms of affection, the 6 loving exchanges that we're going to explore in this verse. ISKCON isn't just a society of beliefs. Oh no. Crashed again. Okay. Gonna have to switch to the other laptop. It crashed again. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. So ISKCON isn't just a society of beliefs. It's a society of loving spiritual beings. Srila Prabhupada didn't just build temples first, he built relationships first.
Gurudev, can I ask a question
Yes.
while you are bringing that
Sure,
up?
sure.
So,
Yeah.
why? So you said connection to be seen, valued. Why do you think we are not seeking on the material platform? Those are the same qualities. Or is it that we have been seeking it in several lives, and finally we have come to the conclusion, I have to seek somewhere else. Naturally, we go to Krishna. Because these values are the ones that, all of the other isms, altruism that Prabhupada calls, that they are all preaching about the same values, even though they are temporary.
Yes.
Why do we come to?
Right. Actually, even when we seek connection on the material plane, or whether we seek in the spiritual plane, the root of that desire is spiritual. So
Even
sometimes
we are seeking on the material platform.
Exactly. So even when we're running, even when you're running behind in the material platform, the actual root is because that's a spiritual need, but we're trying to fulfill it with the material solution, which is why we're frustrated in the material world. You see. So Srila Prabhupada, he didn't build temples first, right? He built relationships first. He saw each person as a part of Krishna. And he made them feel like this. He made them feel like, it's almost like he's saying, you matter. You're not just a student, you're Krishna's beloved. And I care about you. That's why people gave their lives to him. So many people come to Prabhupada broken. At that time, there were so many addicts and dropouts and lost souls. And what did he offer? He offered them a place at Krishna's table. He offered them a compassionate ear, an identity rooted in spirit. And above all, he gave an abundance of love and encouragement. That was his signature style. And that's what we are meant to replicate. Prabhupada said, now all of you become just like me. What does that mean? It means try to be caring and loving with each other. Of course, part of that is you work hard, develop expertise in serving Krishna, develop your love for Krishna. But ultimately, his winning product was love and encouragement from the first second anybody met him. You see? So quick recap. In verse number 2 is like a travel advisory meant to protect your life, keep you on track. Warned of 6 things that derail our bhakti. overeating, over-endeavoring, idle talk, rigid rules without devotion, bad association, fickle practice. So what to avoid? And then verse number 3, with a spiritual greenhouse, the climate-controlled space where devotion can not only survive, but it can flourish. And that devotional seed needs 6 ingredients: enthusiasm, determination, patience, regulative principles, and avoiding bad association. Now in verse number 4, we learn about the 6 loving exchanges, Priti Lakshanam. So verse 2 and 3, quick recap: Atyahara prayashasya prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangasya laulyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. Verse number 4, Utsaha nishchayat dhairyat tat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shadbir bhakti prasidhyati. Now, between verses 2 and 3, what is common? What is that one common word? If you look carefully, you'll find the word that's common between them is Sangha. Sangha. What does Sangha mean? Sangha means association. Who we associate with defines who we are. And after learning about the importance of giving up this non-devotee association in both the previous verses, we ask ourselves, who should I associate with? And we conclude that, of course, we want to associate with devotees. We want to come closer to devotees. We want to be influenced by the progressive devotees. This verse, today's verse, answers the question, how do we associate with devotees? How do we develop relationships? So verse number 4 is today's verse. Dadati pratigrihnati guhyamakyati prichhati bhunte bhojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. I think this is coming out a little awkward. Right here. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Okay. There you go. Okay. Now, verse 4 shifts the focus outward. How to develop love and trust among devotees. This verse is not just etiquette. It's the heart of Vaishnava culture. Prabhupada writes, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges. So bhakti grows not in isolation, but in the greenhouse of sacred relationships. So let's look at these 6 loving exchanges. These are actually paired exchanges, giving and receiving according to these 3 categories, right? So one is physical gifts, dadati, giving the physical gift. Pratigrihnati, receiving the gift. Then the next one is emotional sharing. Guhyam akyati prichati, which means revealing one's mind in confidence. And then bhunkte bhojete. Bhojete means offering prasadam, and bhunkte means honoring prasadam that's given to us. So all these 6 are natural expressions of love. This is found in all societies. This is how people express affection for each other. Very simple, very basic, but very powerful. Without these, any kind of life, temple life, family life, becomes impersonal and dry. These 6 are meant to deepen trust and a sense of belonging, not just formal duties. Okay. Oh, yes, I see the problem over here. I'm going to have to mute this one. Is that audio a little better? Whoops.
Yes, Prabhuji, this is better.
Hopefully. It's a little tricky. Okay. Yeah, we got a problem with this computer crashing because of the laptop. I mean, because of the PowerPoints for some reason. Priti Lakshanam. Priti Lakshanam means symptoms of affection, not just formal duties. Now let's take Prabhupada's example. Srila Prabhupada, he gave many personal items to his disciples. He gave neck beads, dangas, deities. At times he gave his own clothes. He would say, this boy is sincere. Come, here, take my chadar. And he would give it. He'd give his chadar, his shawl. The gifts represent thoughtfulness. It's not about the value so much, but about the intention. In the Lilamrita, we read a story, Prabhupada gave his ring from his finger to his disciple. Inspired so much affection. So for us, we shouldn't underestimate the power of this. Small gifts, tokens, a bead bag, tulsi leaves, an incense pack, transcendental book. Use birthdays, festivals, farewells as gift-giving opportunities. When you visit someone, we never go empty-handed. It's part of our culture, of course, but it's a great opportunity. And we offer with a prayer that let this be a connection, another brick on the bridge to our connection of love. And with a spiritual message to sanctify, to bring Krishna in the center. These things that are being offered to us by Rupa Goswami, they're not very difficult to do, but they're very powerful. Now, of course, we can give very easily, but sometimes we're not comfortable receiving. But when we receive gifts with grace, it builds mutual respect. It means I respect your token. I respect your gesture of love. So we gratefully and gracefully accept gifts. Srila Prabhupada accepted all kinds of humble gifts. Just like he would receive woolen blankets, some simple garlands, handwritten letters. He never dismissed these offerings. He appreciated, no matter how simple they were. So we want to learn to accept gifts without any kind of guilt or any kind of pride. And when someone gives us a gift or any kind of seva also, let's honor their intention. Not just the object, but the intention too. And another thing that happens when we receive something, right? Our hand is lower than the person giving. So it's it actually cultivates humility. And it cultivates a connection. So receiving is also one of the 6 elements. Then 𝐿𝐭𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐵𝐿𝐿, revealing one's mind in confidence. This is very big. Because it leaves us vulnerable. It's vulnerability. And when we share our heart, our struggles, our realizations with another devotee, it's a big step. It tells that other devotee, I trust you with this most vulnerable aspect of myself. Srila Prabhupada was very open in the expression of his heart. Just read the prayers that he wrote on board Jaladuta. He was crying with love for the Lord. And he was expressing his utter dependence. My Lord, I'm just like a puppet. You've brought me here. You make me dance. And he shared it with the world. He would also share his disappointments. Sometimes he would be sad when devotees argued. But he also shared his joy when they're serving harmoniously. So I'm so pleased with the way you're working together. He would write candidly, I'm depending on Krishna. This is my only shelter. So Prabhupada's example is there. What can we take away? What is our takeaway from this? We want to get in the habit of creating safe spaces where devotees can feel that they can talk openly without being judged. We want to get in the habit of opening up to mature devotees. Not everyone, but someone who's mature, who we can trust. And then when we do open up, we want to guard against certain elements. We want to guard against gossip and backbiting or just criticizing. Confidence is a sacred trust. It's confidentiality. It's a sacred trust. It's not public material. Then pritchati. Pritchati means inquiring confidentially. Heartfelt inquiry shows care. It shows care for another soul, not just their schedule or what you can get from them. Srila Prabhupada always asks, how's your health? How's your sadhana? Are you happy in your Krishna consciousness? Are you happy where you are? He set the standard. He set the example. Inquiring. He's always inquiring about their well-being. And he encouraged his disciples to ask about personal growth, not just philosophy. He set the standard, set the example. He was not just like a formal guru, who was very distant. He was a caring listener. You can see in the way he wrote the letters, like a loving friend. So Srila Prabhupada set the standard. What can we do? We can go beyond just how are you? How's it going? We can go beyond that. We can ask, how's your chanting? Or what inspired you this week, Prabhu? Or Mataji, what can you tell me to uplift my spiritual heart today? We can ask. And if someone is opening up, we want to listen without offering just a solution right away. We want to ask to learn, not to evaluate. When we do an inquiry, we're not probing to come to a conclusion. We want to ask to make a heartfelt connection and to learn about the person's genuine feelings. So this 𝐿𝐞𝐥𝐜𝐿 pritchati is something, it's a very, very vast topic. Rupa Goswami puts it right here in just a couple of words, but this is something we can really explore a lot. And it's at the heart of this whole exchange. Then he talks about bhukte bhojayate, accepting prasadam. And so when you accept prasadam, this is spiritual intimacy. Accepting Krishna's mercy through someone else's hands. Prasadam literally means mercy. And someone's hand is giving to you. Prabhupada would give it by his hand. And Srila Prabhupada would often in the early days, he would just eat simple khichdi made by those brand new devotees. And when devotees cook, Krishna is pleased. And when we accept it, Krishna is pleased again. It's the mercy of the Lord flowing through. And when we realize, we make the connection with Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains, Aham Vaiṣṇava bhutva, that even the fire of digestion, that's me. Then we can see how much mercy is at every level of that eating process. So what is the takeaway for us? Is we don't want to reject prasadam offered by a sincere devotee. Okay, if we cannot eat everything, if you're allergic, that's different. But at least we can take a little bit to honor if we're not allergic or if it's okay. Because accepting that prasadam is accepting the devotee's affection. And we can include this in when we visit each other's homes, when we're having classes or friendly lunches, this idea of exchanging. It's nice. That's receiving. And then, of course, the giving, bhojayate, offering prasadam to devotee. This is active service because we're using our time, we're using our resources, and we're using our affection. We're putting it all together. Time that it takes to cook it, resources, the ingredients and the heat and everything. And we're pouring in our affection. The affection that goes in, put all that together, offer it to the Lord, then offer it to the devotees. It nourishes the relationship, it nourishes the body, it pleases the heart, pleases the senses. So Prabhupada's example, we learned that Prabhupada loved to personally serve prasadam, especially to guests. He said prasadam was the most powerful preaching. In ISKCON, prasadam distribution, it was like a whole movement in itself. The food for life, but it's like Prabhupada called it the kitchen religion. So what do we take away from that? Bhojayate. Feed devotees with joy and open-heartedness, not a fake sense of formality. Make it beautiful, make it personal. Invite others, close devotees and your friends to your home. Serve with great care. Even a fruit and some water can be prasadam when you offer with love. Classic story when Krishna went to Vidura's home and they were just so mad with joy that they peeled the bananas, and then instead of offering the bananas, they offered him the peels, and he ate the peels because there's so much love in it. But he rejected the nice feast cooked by Duryodhana's chefs because there's no love in that. So Prabhupada, he explains, our society is like one big family, and our relationships should be based on love and trust. Love and trust. That's what makes our society successful. And without these key elements, how effective will we be? How happy will we be in each other's association if there's no love and trust? And if that love and trust is disintegrated because of negligence, then even being in a circle of devotees becomes a bitter experience. It's unfortunate. So we have to guard this love and trust with the purity of intent, purity of heart, purity of our words. And if something has suffered, let's heal that. Otherwise, we can't be one big family like Prabhupada is showing here. It's based on love and trust. Otherwise, what happens when it starts disintegrating? We try to solve it by putting policies and resolutions, but how many policies and resolutions and formal rules and regulations are you going to patch when there's no love and trust? No amount of that is going to help. That's why this verse is so important. It's not just about taking some khichdi to someone's home. It's much deeper than that. Because if you don't have trust, you won't even want to eat something somebody cooked for you. You don't trust what they put in it. You see. And even if they may have cooked it perfectly, you don't trust their motivation and their feeling toward us. Love and trust is important. So we want to build a bridge of trust. Each exchange that we do with each other is like laying a brick of this bridge between two hearts. And if we stop giving or receiving, the bridge becomes weak and crumbles. But when we cross it regularly and keep patching with more bricks, with strengthening it, with small gifts and prasadam and heartfelt talks, that bridge becomes unshakable spiritual trust. Can you imagine devotees who have had decades of this kind of exchange? How strong their love will be. So relationships among devotees are not optional. They are sacred pathways to Krishna. Let this sink in. Relationships among devotees are not optional. These are sacred pathways to Krishna. And at the heart of it is this 𝐼𝐞𝐥𝐸 pritchati, this emotional sharing and inquiry that's framed by the gifts and the prasadam. But the heart-to-heart exchange is where it's at. So it's revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. These are not casual conversations. They are acts of sacred vulnerability. It's real love among devotees. Yes, it's not just eating together and gift. It is the sharing of the heart, asking the real questions, and holding space for someone else's journey. For this to happen, there must be trust. And trust isn't built in one moment. It's built slowly in little acts over time. Now, for a number of years, I've been exploring and studying this concept of trust. What makes it work? What breaks it? Why do relationships fail around this crucial element, trust? So I came across an interesting TED talk by a famous author, Brené Brown. And she talks about the 7 elements of trust using this acronym, BRAVING. So I felt we could use this to help frame what revealing our heart and inquiring looks like safely and effectively in our devotional communities. This braving concept. So you have the letter B. B stands for boundaries. Respect what's appropriate to share and hear. Respect these boundaries. Don't push someone else to open up more than they're ready to. Respect their boundaries. And then have respect for your own boundaries. Know when to say, that's a little bit too personal for now, maybe later. You should respect your own boundaries too. For example, a devotee lovingly tells a friend, I'm happy to help with prasadam preparation, but I can't stay past 8 p.m. because that's, I have to go for my family responsibilities. And that's fine, but you're clear. Respect that devotee's boundaries. Respecting someone's service limitations without guilt tripping them. Don't guilt trip devotees. You don't know what they're going through. It's very painful when that happens to you, isn't it? When there's a exchange of words builds up into a debate, Know when to stop the debate. If the other person doesn't want to engage in it, that's a boundary. Boundaries allow us to serve sustainably and prevent resentment in devotional relationships. Be aware, get a sense, be a little bit more sensitive. That's B. Then R is reliability. Be someone who follows up. If a devotee opens up to you, check on them later. They opened up to you, but then you should, call them up. By the way, maybe a week later or whenever. How's it going? Consistency builds trust. Be reliable. Don't be the person who's consistently unreliable. Be the person that people will be like, oh, that person, I can always count on them. Be that person. Don't be the person, oh yeah, that devotee, he always says he'll show up, and then 80% of the time he doesn't show up. And then the rest of the time he does show up, it'll be at least half an hour late. So showing up to your services, say you're supposed to lead the class or something like that, or you're supposed to clean up something. Be there on time when you're committed. In ISKCON or any other religious organization, we may not be getting a salary to do the seva. But that doesn't mean that we can just blow it off. Because when you commit, then you're hired. And if you're consistently not showing up, then don't be surprised if you're not hired again. When it's hired, it's allowed to do the seva. And also it kind of weakens the sense of trust. So, for example, temple treasurer, they're very reliably delivering their quarterly report, even when no one reminds them. That's reliability. When you tell someone, I'll pray for you, and then you actually go home and do it, that's reliability. Krishna appreciates our sincerity, but our reliability strengthens our trustworthiness in the eyes of the devotees. And it's a gauge of our sincerity. We don't want to be the person who's famous for being reliably unreliable. Then A, accountability. Own your mistakes in relationships. If you accidentally breach confidence, admit it. Apologize. Don't be afraid to apologize. And don't be afraid to repair. Prabhu, I forgot to bring the books to Sankirtan today. That's on me. I will make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm going to fix it right now. I'm going to rush and get it. Means you apologize and you do something about it. Apologize and repair. And you try darndest hard to not do it again. Or a leader acknowledging, we could have communicated this festival better. That's our responsibility. So accountability is an expression of humility. One of the core qualities of Krishna. That Krishna glorifies and Krishna also has. Then V, vault. It's like bulletproof, safe, a vault. What's shared with you in confidence stays with you. No spiritual gossip disguised as sharing concerns. Confidentiality is sacred. Don't leak anything that you've been trusted with. Avoid phrases like, hey, did you hear so-and-so's family issues? What? No. You don't need to be the person who's breaking confidentiality. Don't ever do that. Being a vault means a safe space. This earns deep trust and honors the dignity of other jivas. Remember, everyone wants to safeguard their dignity. And when they're opening up to you, you are now the caretaker of their dignity. Respect that. Vault. Then I stands for integrity. Choose courage over comfort. Speak truthfully but kindly. Don't sugarcoat, but don't shame. Be clear. What this means is that we're not compromising on our principles for money or fame or political power in the community. Stick with the principles of honesty. Don't be afraid to walk away from a gossip circle, even if you're the only one walking away. Integrity is achar before prachar. Being the person that we preach about. Then N stands for non-judgment. When someone is like sharing with you some struggle, don't preach to them. Just be present. Let people be imperfect without commentary. Say a new devotee shares, Mataji, I'm struggling to chant even one round. Like I can't even finish. And you respond with compassion, not criticism. And you say, that's okay, my dear. You're here, and that's beautiful, and that's what matters. That's a non-judgmental heart space. That person will never forget that moment of non-judgmentalism. Definitely, we want to avoid things like sarcasm to a person to try to hurt them. We want to avoid mocking someone, or we definitely want to avoid subtle spiritual elitism, holier than thou. Oh yeah, I can never do this kind of mistake like she did. No. That's a spiritual elitism. I'm so much better. No. When someone opens up, don't do any of these because they're vulnerable. That non-judgmental heart space is very rare, but we want to cultivate that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not judge Jagai Madai for their drunkardness or their sinful background. He embraced them. And so should we when anyone opens up to us. And the last one, G, this is a very important one, is a sense of generosity. By generosity, I'm not talking about, making big donations and things. It means be generous with your assumptions. Assume the best intention when someone did something. Assume the best possible way to interpret that behavior. If someone seems distant, don't conclude that they've become envious or disloyal all of a sudden. Give them the benefit of doubt. If a devotee forgets to say Hari Bol back to you, assume that they were distracted. Don't assume that they're being rude or they've decided to be an enemy. That's generosity. The most generous benefit of doubt. Generosity of heart is the mood of a servant. If you say, I'm your servant, your servant, Dāsa, Dāsa, Anudas, then we cannot be but generous in our assumptions. It makes our communities warm and spiritually nourishing. Of course, if someone is constantly taking undue advantage, you'll be able to sense that as well. In which case, then you can be clear that, hey, this is what you can openly ask, repeatedly this has been happening. Am I misreading it? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying generosity means you keep being generous until you become a doormat of someone's abuse. That's different. Generosity means give the benefit of doubt in a positive way. Don't try to take so much pride in our ability to see someone's ill intention. It could be misplaced and sometimes it could backfire. Let's be a little bit more generous. So these are elements of trust, love and trust. So Srila Prabhupada embodied love and trust by offering unconditional acceptance to people from all backgrounds, seeing their potential as servants of Krishna. He was fully reliable. He personally guided devotees, cared for their well-being. He delivered Krishna's message without distorting it. He always demonstrated humility, full accountability. He would admit mistakes. He said, yes, Krishna is perfect. We are human beings. We can make mistakes. He would just approach it if something didn't work. And he always gave credit to a spiritual master. He would protect confidential matters when he's dealing with devotees, private struggles, and he was very compassionate to them. He maintained unwavering, solid integrity, never compromise philosophy for money, fame, or comforts, never. And he showed boundless generosity, tirelessly giving time. I mean, the ultimate generosity. You know, the first initiation, he started doing the initiation ceremony, and the devotees, they asked him, Swamiji, are there any rules to follow? And Prabhupada said, I was hoping you would ask. Like, he was so generous, he was giving them initiation without even any rules. Just getting, you know, just to uplift them. So cultivating deep relationships of trust, built on respect, consistency, and genuine concern for others' spiritual growth. This is the root of it. So remember, before sharing, ask, is this the right time, place, and person for this conversation? Before inquiring, ask, do I want to know this to help and understand, or just to feel in control? This is sharing and inquiring. Be a vault keeper. Someone tells you something, never retell it, even subtly, if it's something personal. And it's okay to say, I don't know. A lot of the time, spiritual support is less about advice and just more about being there, just your presence. So these are some tips to keep in mind. So Priti Lakshanam, some warnings. Don't confuse Priti Lakshanam with flattery or manipulation. That's not what it's about. It's about being plain-hearted and clean-hearted. It's not about trying to, you know, control the situation. It's about opening up and sharing genuine affection. Respect emotional boundaries. Openness must be invited, not demanded. Don't force yourself into someone's space. And of course, we don't make these exchanges transactional. They must flow from a space of love. These 6 exchanges, they are the heartbeat of real Vaiṣṇava life. More than any temple or book or dress, it's how we love one another that reveals Krishna's presence in our midst. Yes, Srila Prabhupada built temples, yes. ISKCON, we're building new temples, yes. But Srila Prabhupada built them on the foundation of trust and loving exchanges. Let's never forget that. We use these things like bricks and temples to build up people and relationships. We don't use people to build things. The focus is the love between the people. That's what this verse is all about. So thank you all very much for your kind attention and your valuable time in joining this evening. I hope this was of some use. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any comments or questions, you can share.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your class. So my question is from last class.
Oops.
So you mentioned in the Tat Karma Pravratana, like the tips, the 4th tip was prioritize quality. Don't tolerate robotic rounds and mindless reading. So can you explain this, and can you also explain how to improve this as well? Thank you.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. So the question was, how do we come out of this mindlessness, robotic kind of Krishna conscious practice? So there are quite a few things that we could be doing. For example, a few tips I can offer is that we always want to remember this bhakti process is a relationship, not a ritual. The heart of it is a relationship with Krishna. So if our activities become disconnected from this loving, dynamic, living bond, then we fall into the mechanical mindset. Prabhupada emphasized that the purpose of all the rules and regulations is to awaken love for Krishna. Na utpadayed yadhiratim shrama eva hi kevalam. If it doesn't every day produce, utpadan means production. It doesn't produce rati, an affection for Krishna, then it's shrama, 𝐿-𝐸𝐞𝐿, it's useless labor. So even a 10-second prayer before we chant or before we read or before we do something for Krishna, like offering, say, please accept this, Krishna, I'm going to read this, please connect my heart. That few seconds can shift your mood dramatically to real devotion. So that's one tip. Quick prayer. Then use your mind intelligently. Don't be passive. See, so while you chant, you meditate on the meaning. When you hear the class, take a few notes, like I can see you already doing it, so it's very serious. When doing deity worship, speak the deity in mind. Now, my Lord, I'm going to offer you flower. I hope you like it. Now, my Lord, okay, I'm going to offer you this. I hope you enjoy it. World of a difference. It goes from ritual to spiritual. Just add the SPI, which is Supreme Personality, and his interest. If he's the focus, then goes from ritual to spiritual. Yeah. Quick question. Thank you, Himanshu Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Anyone else have any questions? Let's see.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question. So I think much of what you were discussing, we can.
Sorry, who's speaking?
Padma.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Sorry, I couldn't. Yes.
Much of what you said we can apply in our personal life as well, right? With others, family members, and friends. How do you see that? Like, do people actually, the devotees, do they practice this and they also apply some of these principles outside of it? And how does that impact our bhakti life? Like applying this in our personal space, does that actually have an impact or improve our bhakti practice as well?
Of course. So a general principle is how you do one thing is how you end up doing everything else. You can't be diligent at work and not diligent in your Krishna consciousness. You can't be focused when you're reading Prabhupada's books and be unfocused when you're reading, say, technical books for your work. You'll naturally become focused. It'll be part of your personality, you see. So the good qualities you develop in one side will flow into the other side. Whether those good qualities were developed as part of your profession and you applied in Krishna consciousness or vice versa, it doesn't matter because you've become a better person. Now, whether you built your muscles lifting books, transcendental books, or lifting weights in the gym, it doesn't matter. You got big muscles now. You can use them wherever you want, you see. So those skills, those tendencies, you can certainly use them wherever they came from. Ultimately, it all comes from Krishna. When you become Krishna conscious, you realize this is all Krishna's gift, whether it came through the path of through our material relationships or anything else. Yes, I'm going to, let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to come out of this one. There you go. Can you see me now? I think I'd come out. Yes, I hope that helps. We have Vamshi Prabhu and Shambhava Prabhu. Go ahead, Vamshi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanavad Pranam. So just a question, how do we develop these qualities by chanting? Can you speak a little bit about that? Because if I have to explicitly try and acquire, these are not something that I can buy in Walmart or something. So I have to develop these qualities. So through chant, how does the chanting help?
Yes,
Develop these qualities?
It's a good question. It is said that a person who takes up the practice of Krishna consciousness naturally and automatically develops all the good qualities of the demigods. You know that verse, right? 𝐼𝐸𝐞𝐞𝐥 kuto madhura. Anyway, so there's no good qualities in someone who is moving away from Krishna. His good qualities just diminish. But a person who's becoming Krishna conscious, all these good qualities start appearing. They become like they start blossoming. At the same time, part of this bhakti process is to read these books, isn't it? Like this is what we're doing. We're reading Nectar of Instruction, which actually spells these out. Don't do this, don't do that. So you see, it's telling us what to do in a kind of cookbook way. At the same time, those principles are hard to live up to unless you have the satisfaction and the connectivity that comes through proper chanting. You see, the energy, the spiritual push that comes when you're connected with Krishna, which is a magical connection, whether you know the meaning of chanting or not. If you chant sincerely, if you chant just with some affection, that connection is immediate. Then that electricity will empower you to actually live up to those principles that you read in the Nectar of Instruction. It makes it easy, and it eventually makes them effortless and natural. You know, like the very first verse of Nectar of Instruction, right? Vāca-vegam, manasa-krodha-vegam, jiva-vegam, udara-pastha-vegam. Those 6 urges, all 6 of them are very difficult to control. But when we're chanting sincerely, honestly, when you're only eating prasadam, when you're associating with devotees, then those things become easier and easier. So it works both ways. You have to know what to aspire toward. You don't resent the principle, but it's charged by the quality of your chanting. And then people will see on your face and on your words that you don't get angry like other people do. Your words are, you don't have a tendency to speak harshly like other people do. And you get even more and more of those good qualities because you're chanting more deeply and more lovingly. So they are interconnected very deeply, and they feed off of each other.
So is it safe to say, so the quality of our chanting actually depends on how we exhibit these qualities, correct?
And vice versa,
Okay.
The qualities you exhibit reflect your quality of your chanting. So there's something that feed off of each other. You know, the analogy I can give is the love and discipline. Love is like the spark, and discipline is like the fuel. So in a car, you have a spark plug, and you have a tank of fuel. But the spark itself will not move the car. So just having a loving feeling is not going to move you toward Krishna, but you have to have the discipline with the fuel. Constant chanting, disciplined chanting, wake up early, reading, understanding, that's the fuel. You put that spark, when it comes together, the fuel explodes, ignites, and the piston moves, and then the car moves, the whole truck moves, because those two came together. Now, if the spark plug didn't work, if you had no loving feeling, then the whole tank of fuel is useless. It won't move anything. And if all you had was just some feelings, but you had no discipline to back it up, the fuel, then also spark plug is not going to move the truck. You need both, you see. So that's why they feed off of each other. Yeah.
Well said. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Shyam Gopal Prabhu. And then Nelson Prabhu. I think you're still muted, Shyam Gopal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class. It was a great class, and we got a lot of reflections which are more practical. So in this, one question which I have, right? Say braving, I really like that, but that is something which I can implement, right, very easily. But when I see someone like other than maybe like some of the people, like maybe you, Mansi Mataji, or maybe one or two, like my sadhu sangha people. But other than that, sometimes you fear, right? You fear if you like share something from your past life, because you fear the past also, right? You have changed a lot after coming into devotion, and it may not be relevant to the current situation, right? Why you need to share which is in the past, which you have changed a lot, right? So is that sharing important? Like I can understand exchanging gift and exchanging prasadam and all those things, but what about the your own? If it is not required, do you need to have? Do you need to share all those things?
So the question is, if I understand correctly, is it necessary to share everything from the past if it's not relevant or not required? So I think that's a good. The answer to that is in your question itself. If it's not relevant or required, you don't have to do it. If you feel that it is required or it will be very helpful if you first of all suppose you trust somebody a lot, and you feel that if I explain or if I reveal certain things of my past, that'll be helpful in our relationship, or it'll helpful. Maybe I can get more pointed guidance in my spiritual life. If you feel, then you can open up. For example, you go to a doctor, you say, okay, I have a pain in my eye. But if you say that last week I stubbed my toe on the furniture, it may not be relevant to the pain in your eye, but it may be. Maybe there's a nerve in the toe that's messing with your eye. Who knows? I'm just saying, like, we may not know. But if the person is expert, they'll be like, they may even ask you, hey, by the way, did you stub your toe last week? Like, wow, how do you know? Well, that's because this eye is twitching over here. I'm just saying, who knows how this is? So sometimes we may not think it's relevant, but if someone is really expert, ultimately we have to decide what we feel is relevant and important. You know, if you don't feel it's important, you don't have to share it. If you don't feel it's have a meaningful value or, you know, redeeming value, then there's no need to share it. But if you feel that something, you'll unburden your heart and you feel better after doing it, then even then be very careful to whom you do it, because you made yourself vulnerable. So you have to really be careful, and you have to really, really trust deeply that person. You know, that have they demonstrated the vault? You know, yes, I'm a vault, but are they vaults? Or will they say, oh, you know, 𝐷𝐿, yeah, that guy, you know what he told me last week? And they go on and tell somebody else. So definitely we want to be careful, for sure. Boundaries means we protect our boundaries too. We have to use our intelligence, whom we open up to, for sure. But yeah, you have to be the best judge yourself of what you think is relevant to open up. You don't have to open it just to create a relationship, you know? It's not necessary. It has to be relevant too. Just for the sake of, let me get closer to that person by telling him what a bad drug addict I was. It's not necessary. You know?
Yeah, that was actually my main point. Like, say, many of the
It's not
relationship
necessary.
in the temple are because you serve together with them, or you know, most of them are mostly because you serve with them together, right? Or you attend Bhakti Diksha with them. So that way you develop relationship, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sharing may not be necessary here. You know what I mean? Is it?
It may not be. Only if you feel it's necessary with one person that they'll help you overcome something that's still bothering you about it. That's a different thing. But it's not necessary to tell everything about your whole life to everyone, or even, you know, yeah.
Yeah, only with a Shiksha Guru or someone like that you can share more, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Correct.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Prabhu. Yes, Nelson Prabhu, you had your hand up earlier.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a nice class. I have a semantics question regarding the use of the words benediction moon towards the end of the purport. I know that Ekadashi is based on the 16 different phases of the moon, and we also base I'm blanking, but was there something to glean from the use of the word benediction moon? Uh, I know that the moon infuses vegetables and fruits with the moisture or the water within them. So I was just wondering why moon and not sun, or is there anything we're supposed to learn from this? Thank you.
Yes, actually, that's a good question. It's actually a poetic. It's actually a poetic use of the term benediction moon, because you know where the phrase comes from, the first verse of Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. Lord Chaitanya wrote, he only wrote 8 verses. He gave many verbal instructions, but he only wrote 8 verses. The first one of that has this term, benediction moon, spreads the rays, right? Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So that's where that comes from. Now, why is it called benediction moon and not a sun? So moon is considered soothing, cooling, and nourishing, especially when compared to the sun, which can be harsh and intense. And benedictions, they release us, or they relieve us from the heat of the world. So it creates a poetic picture of a source of gentle, abundant, and cooling blessings, like a moon that rises to relieve the heat and darkness of material life. Both are gone. You know, sometimes at night we feel even more hot, but the moon's rays, they cool you. And of course, dissipates the darkness meaning that I don't know where to go because I can't see anything, but now moon has come. So the moon's benediction are the cooling effect, and also knowing now where I can walk the path. It, illuminates the path for us. That's the two aspects of the benediction moon. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nelson Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Sandamini Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I just asked it. Thank you so much.
Mataji, I can barely hear you. The audio is like really bad, but maybe if you can talk.
Can you hear me now, Prabhuji?
Yeah, a little better now, yeah.
Okay. Maybe I should. Maybe Prabhu now, it's okay?
Yes, very good.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Wonderful class as always. So this braving technology, Prabhu, this acronym is amazing. I know Brené Brown, but I'm also concerned that sometimes with our immediate relatives, it's very hard to set boundaries. It's very hard to set, to be non-judgmental as a devotee, because it's because they pass some comments that are hard to not try to. How do we tackle such situations in general, Prabhu?
Just trying to think. So now you're talking about because your relatives are very close, right? And basically you've never really had to set boundaries, and now all of a sudden you realize the importance of setting boundaries and how to reset them. Is that your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, because you know how relatives are. They're very free to give unsolicited advice, or it's like and then they're very free to meddle, and even question what is this, even with the practice of consciousness. It's hard. Go back home, it's really hard to, and I put my boundaries, I put my like this is my spiritual journey and kind of thing, but still it's really, really hard. And I don't know, no matter how much conviction, I sometimes break down because they go to my childhood years and say, oh, we were brought up this years. This is how we'd always done. Now you're. So how do I deal with the braving? I've attempted several times, but it's always, I come back with a hurt, feelings, or even though I try to accommodate still. So sometimes I feel, how do I put those boundaries with the?
No, it's not easy with relatives. Which is the most difficult, because they've seen you from a very young age and they know you inside out, and basically we're taken for granted. We take them for granted. Albert Einstein is considered the most brilliant guy because I figured out theory of relativity. I can't even figure out my relatives, so it's brilliant, right? But boundaries with relatives are not easy. But you can say things like, look, I love you, but I'm not okay with being spoken this way. Please don't let it happen. Now, this is very hard to do, but a lot of the times we think this is going to be the end of the relationship. But people will respect you. Sometimes you have to be consistent and insistent. And if we are reliable in upholding our own boundaries, then our consistency will teach them how to treat you. And then we hold them accountable. Calling them out of violations. I've asked this before. Please don't raise your voice like this. I feel disrespected when it happens again. And so on, So it's not easy to do. Setting boundaries with relatives is not that easy because there haven't been any boundaries the whole life. And all of a sudden it's artificial and unreal. And what's going on? I thought we were friends. No, we are friends. Good fences make good neighbors. Actually, when you're always in each other's faces, you're always disrespecting. See, good fences make good neighbors. And sometimes when you're putting up a fence, when you're used to spitting each other's yards, it seems a little awkward. But now, okay, please don't chew your tobacco and spit in my yard. You
Mm.
know, it's disgusting. It's fine. You're grown up now. It's fine. And now you've realized you've developed sense of self-worth, and it's okay. And people will respect it, and they have to. And sometimes it means walking away. If it's really getting to you, you have to keep your distance. We have to offer, hey, they could even be devotees, by the way, who are your relatives. They could even be devotees. They could even be initiated devotees. And you still have to keep a distance. By the way, this is the segue into next week's verse. Okay, so we're going to talk about this a lot next week. So maybe let's save it for that one. How about
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sure. Thank you.
Yes, Amin Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you so much for the class. I feel bad asking a question. I know you had such a long day and gave such a great.
No, this is fine.
I was trying to figure it out, but I think I need to ask this question. You brought up accountability attributing to building trust, and you had mentioned that accountability is the core quality of humility. And I was wondering if you could speak a little more about that. You know, we hear humility very often in terms of coming to Krishna with humility. So in connection to devotee relationships, accountability being the core quality of humility. It sounds really great to me, but I'm not sure if I understand it. Just want to understand better.
Yes, it's a good question, because this is a very common, it's a very commonly asked question. This it comes down to the definition of humility. You know, humility, and this is a very famous line. I'm not sure who it's attributed to. I've heard it from His Holiness Bhakti Swami, but it's also been attributed to others in the past. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is to think of yourself less. You see, it's not to think, oh, I'm so bad, I'm so fallen, I'm such useless. No, that's not humility. Humility means thinking of the other person and thinking of the situation, thinking of have a very clear picture of the situation is actually humility. Having an accurate assessment of where you are and where the other person is. So now, how does accountability come into play? Accountability is a core of humility because it reflects a willingness to own your actions. It reflects a willingness to admit your mistakes and a willingness to grow from them. All of these are expressions of humility in practice. See? So when you own your part, even when it's uncomfortable, that's accountability. And in that sense, it is almost synonymous with humility. When you're humble, you can say, I was wrong. That's the same as accountability. When you're humble, you can say, that wasn't the best choice that I made. That's also accountability. When you're humble, you can say, I could have handled that differently. That's both humility and accountability. So it's a kind of honesty that requires maturity and courage. It's the opposite of protecting your ego. And when you let go of ego, that's called humility. You see, you're protecting your false ego with a sense of, yeah, that decision was the best, or I couldn't make a mistake. No way, I can't apologize. That's our, protecting the ego. Accountability breaks the illusion of perfection. We are not perfect beings because we're conditioned beings. And when our heart is prideful, we avoid accountability because we want to look faultless. The humble heart says, with humble heart is like, I'm still learning. Please help me see what I missed. See, so humility embraces vulnerability. Humility sees vulnerability as the teacher. Humility and accountability is both. Say, I'm responsible for the ripple effects of my behavior. You see, and when you accept consequences without defensiveness, that is humility and accountability. It's not just apologizing. It's being willing to make things right, changing behavior, asking, how can I repair this breach of trust? Accepting the impact of our actions without trying to justify them. Then we end up honoring relationships. Instead of being right, we want to do the right thing. So in Bhakti, humility is described as being, of course, Trinada Bhisunīcena Tarori Vaiṣṇava. It means I'm not independent. My actions matter. I must answer to my conscience, my community, and my Lord. I'm accountable to my Lord, to Krishna, and therefore ultimately to society. Therefore, they're very closely related. Does that help? Man?
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Okay. Dharanidhar Krishna Prabhu, Hari Bol, thank you for joining. Please go ahead. You can unmute yourself. Let me see.
Yes.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Most of my question answered by your class, but I have question about the prasadam. Some people say they eat prasadam at temple, they got their blood pressure went up, their cholesterol went up. But I said I eat every time. I don't have any problems. But because of that DNA is happening, or what?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Good question. So, first of all, it's very obvious, Prabhu, that you're very healthy. I met you in person and I just saw your face is glowing with the personification of good health. So I think nothing can happen to you in terms of blood pressure, cholesterol. It's just the way you are built. It's the goodness of your heart that's shining forth. Not everybody has that. Okay, definitely. Plus, you're growing guavas in your backyard. That in itself is like guaranteed to make you perfectly healthy. I mean, you gave me the guava last month, and I was like, "This is the best guava I ever tasted." In your backyard, it's like pink from the inside. I mean, if you're eating something like that, you'll never get any problems. So you're very
Haribol.
But yes, but of course, not all of us have like you're right, the DNA is a big part of it. Some of us, even if you eat basically green smoothies made of wheatgrass and regular grass, and that's all we eat, we'll still produce so much cholesterol because the body produces it. Just it's our DNA. It's unfortunate. But a big part of it is our stress levels. If we practice Krishna consciousness properly and increase our sattvic level, more goodness, we'll sleep better, we'll be more peaceful in the mind. A lot of doctors say stress. When you lower your stress, yes.
Yeah. So we should not serve them prasadam?
Oh, you should definitely serve them, but you should ask them, are you allergic to anything here? Is this going to kill you tomorrow? Definitely. Because we have kids who come, they have allergies to like tree nuts and things. And then the kids ask, hey, does this have any almonds in it? Because otherwise it'll, So everybody, one man's food is another man's poison. That's completely understandable. So there could be allergies, there could be diet restrictions. And what we could do is find out if there's 7 items and out of that the person can't eat 5 of them, then we give them the other 2, and we can say that, would you like me to get you something? Maybe I'll see if I can make something for you, or maybe some extra fruits. Basically, if we can take this opportunity to show our care and concern for them and make them feel extra welcome and extra cared for, that's an opportunity. For
extra humble.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. Then they'll feel, wow, this person really cares about me. And then that's how you win.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And you're getting late, so we talk next time, next Tuesday.
Yes, we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay, any more questions in the chat? Yeah, Rama Mataji is sharing some thoughts. Yeah, it's the genetics and stress too. So, yes, yeah, that's the thing. It's our bodies are built differently. But one thing we could do is offload the stress. We can learn to offload stress in our Krishna conscious practice. Krishna says that just don't worry. The whole Bhagavad Gita is about stress relief. Did you know that? The opening verse of Krishna talks about, about Ashochan Anushotastam. That's Krishna's opening verse. You're worrying for something that's not worth worrying about, lamenting. Shoch means worry. Shok. And he ends by saying, Ma shucha. Sarvadhanam pariteja mamekam sharanam vrajam. Aham tam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. The same word. Don't worry. So the opening verse and the closing verse is about worry. You worried about something that's not worth worrying. And now that I've told you everything and you surrender to me, you shouldn't worry. So when you have hurry, then there's no worry. You have hurry in your heart. So to the extent that we're really having faith that Krishna is protecting me, that's surrender, right? The 6 symptoms. He's my protector. He's my maintainer. That means we don't worry about. What are we worrying about? We worry about protection. We worry about our maintenance. We worry about finances. But when we learn Krishna is taking care of us anyway, the worries go down, stress levels go down, cortisol levels go down, blood pressure goes down, cholesterol may go down also. Yeah, because your body is not so freaked out. Krishna consciousness does prolong your life if we apply the principles properly and take it to heart. For sure, for sure. We see it. Devotees look younger than non-devotees. That's just in general, we see it on their faces. So, yes, thank you, Rama, for sharing your thoughts. Okay, so it's...
Hare Krishna Prabhu, a small question.
Yes, Himanshu.
Like you said, Mahaprabhu wrote the 6 Shashkatam. So did Mahaprabhu wrote or he just spoke? Because
he spoke many things. He spoke, all he spoke was recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavad. That's all recorded. He spoke a lot. You see everything he taught. But the Shikshashtakam he wrote with his hands on the leaf with a pen and was outpouring his essence of all. That's why
and did he explain it as well, or the 6 Goswamis explained it?
The Goswamis explained.
Goswami.
Yeah, and of course our acharyas continued to explain them. Prabhupada explained it at full length. Prabhupada's life itself is a commentary to the Shikshashtakam. He embodied it. He spread the Sankirtan. He spread the benediction moon all over the world. He was the one. Yes. Thank you. So I appreciate all the devotees who stayed and who joined. He came from far and near. We have devotees who are joining from, I see some devotees joining from Kenya. It's like 5 in the morning there, 4 in the morning. We have devotees joining from New York. It's 10:20 at night. And devotees from West Coast like Dhanidhar Prabhu and Nelson Prabhu and Ferdi Prabhu and so many other devotees from California. We have devotees from India and Trinidad. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you next time when we talk on the next level of interacting with devotees and identifying how to interact with which devotees. It's an intriguing topic that Rupa Goswami really asks us to think deeply about. So I hope you found this valuable and enjoyable. It wasn't a waste of time. And so we'll see you next time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare
Thank you so much,
Krishna, Hare
Prabhu.
Bol.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.